Hello!
Hello.
Welcome back to Wandering into Wellness. And today we are here to introduce to you two green shoots.
Chloe and Adam. Oh, they're lovely.
Oh, they are.
One of our, I think, main goals when we first started this podcast was to introduce to you guys the wonderful world of Ireland and all that Ireland has to offer, because one of the wonderful things that Ireland doesn't have to offer is people who big themselves up. We are not very good at that here in Ireland. And so we have all these amazing hidden talents and amazing places to visit and healers and all these kind of great experiences, but they're just kind of hidden gems. And so we wanted to illuminate them for you. And two green shoots is definitely one of them.
And when you hear the story, you will be magnetized down to West Cork, and you can sort of feel in the recording even like that kind of sultry, tropical, really special West Cork air, which is the reason why they can grow so many amazing things. And Adam is this incredibly talented botanist who teaches us all about edibles, and you can check out some of the shorts from on our Instagram feed that talk a little bit more about that, and we kind of tour the garden with them as well. But for now, it's time to get to know Adam and Chloe. And don't forget, while you're on, please like and subscribe. Every single one of those little bing likes and bing subscribes gives us a massive bump in potential to be able to further our work and do more for you. And if you like what we do, please, we really need your support, right?
Yeah, and thank you to Clearlight Saunas who support us already, our wonderful sponsors. If you haven't already got yourself an infrared sauna, you should check out Clearlight Saunas. Finn has one just in his back garden, just over there, which we get the benefit of using. And there are so many beautiful benefits to it that are different than regular sauna, right?
Exactly. And one of the things that I use it for is because we miss out on a lot of spectrums of light in our life, and specifically red light spectrum is one that happens very early in the morning at dawn, very late in the evening, before the big UV spectrums filter in, and ultraviolet light obliterates a lot of the lovely benefits that are anti-inflammatory, that are gently healing, that are detoxifying. There's some fascinating benefits to mood and hormonal health, all sorts of fascinating things to be discovered only when you go and dive in and get your own unit to try out. So come and talk to us. If you want a Clearlight Sauna, drop us a little email to wanderingintowellness@gmail.com, DM us on @wanderingintowellness on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll get back to you, and we'll give you all of the lovely discount codes and get you to become part of the Clearlight family with us.
But if you want to be part of the delicious foraging, eating lovely things from your garden, staying in a lovely yurt or a beautiful garden B&B style situation, listen to our podcast and go check out Two Green Shoots, and you could stay there this summer for a beautiful staycation, or come to Ireland and visit them specially.
Absolutely worth it. All right, take care, see you later, and enjoy.
Bye.
They kind of, focused around everything, all work being used and not sitting on shelves. So
Good.
all PhD students would have had businesses or different industry that they were working directly with to make sure that our work was benefiting. So it was, on paper, blooming amazing, which is why I signed up.
Yeah.
And then I just got a year and a half in, and I honestly was coming out in a rash. I was like, I just can't sit at this computer any longer. And having met eventually this fecker, honestly, I was just so bowled over by the muck and actually getting stuck into soil and plants. And
you
was at a time when I just so needed that.
And you worked for me, but worked with me for a couple of months, didn't you?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
So at what point did you decide to come back here? Like, what was the thing that was like, okay, and now we're moving here? And then when did the idea of this then germinate? Like, how did that all happen?
A one-bed flat in London.
Yeah, we were.
Get out.
That'll do it.
Yeah, we were just toiling away, weren't we? Just trying to pay rent and.
Amazing jobs.
Yeah.
Our work, we absolutely loved.
They
I
were
worked
lovely
for
jobs.
an environmental community charity as a projects officer, very hands-on, running everything from horticultural therapy programs to fuel poverty projects, and Adam was managing
Nebworth Gardens, Nebworth House Gardens.
Okay, yeah, right.
28 acre garden.
we loved our work, but we were both in both settings, our work was dictated to us. We were given
limited, weren't we?
Limited on actually how much we could kind of craft and
Set
create
your sights.
ourselves.
Yeah.
So that we definitely had we had an allotment as a kind of a space to just do our own thing, and it got weird and wonderful, and we created all sorts of tree houses for our hens. That's when we first started building those.
Those wild ducks, our pet wild ducks, used to come up.
We had bees.
we
were basically trying to live the good life, but
tiny little.
I was like, that's a lot. And the bees got on with the hens and the ducks, and
more or less. It was. But do you know, it just got to a stage. So there was all of that happening, and my parents actually were at the point of selling this. And my mum, over the course of a number of months, kept sort of seeding this idea. Are you sure you wouldn't like to come back? And I hated Ireland as a teen.
I never thought you'd want to come back.
So I was really a bit apprehensive, but listen, I don't actually know when we made the decision, but we were just on a boat.
Wow.
It was a whirlwind.
To Ireland.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, it just happened. And then we arrived on the Monday. We were running our first events for the West Cork Food Festival on the Thursday. So we just hit the ground running.
Whoa.
It was.
And we just haven't stopped.
And when you were pairing together doing those events, what were you doing, and what was the dynamic between you guys at that stage?
That's
not asking for romantic dynamic.
No. Well, I was going to say I was dressed as a female Viking, but that doesn't really help the romantic side.
I don't know. Takes all sorts.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was that first autumn, because we didn't have the garden at that stage, so we were.
So that was a different event. Yeah.
All of our botanicals, we were foraging loads. We were getting out into the landscape. I mean, we are incredibly lucky that even without this garden, there are so many amazing ingredients. So we were really celebrating those, and I mean, even down to seaweeds and. But yeah, we were playing around with all sorts, and we wanted to do something for kids.
Yeah.
And I hate how plastic fantastic Halloween's become, but I love it as a celebration. It's mainly because it's fun and people really play, and I think we need more of that. So anyway, it found us doing this spooky supper. Which is basically getting loads of kids round a cauldron, making bread snakes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was really good fun for them.
Pesto guts, and filling them and
making ghouly ghosts.
But I don't know what point my mum came out with a blonde wig saying that Adam would be really good as a Viking-esque.
I just had to put it on. I don't know what was going on. That was my role anyway.
It's not, you can't say no to mother-in-law saying that, can you?
It's a bit of pressure.
Yeah, a little bit.
And it was early days, wasn't it? You were out to impress.
Yeah, I was.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, it wasn't quite gardening, I must admit.
I don't know how many mother-in-laws would be impressed by a Viking-esque, but anyway, that was what was demanded.
But that's what we started doing, wasn't it? We started doing events. I mean, we built up a little bit of our business before we came over, didn't we? Your parents were helping promote us about coming over, and we kind of roughly had an idea, didn't we?
Yeah, and we had, the great thing about horticulture is it travels.
Yeah.
You know, you can go anywhere in the world and you'll pick up work, and particularly, there's a real lack of highly skilled horticulturalists that really know when to prune and how to prune.
What to identify and how it's used.
So we kind of would have started off with consultancy and maintenance, and then gradually, meanwhile, we're creating a space to bring people.
And does this make sense to you guys if you were yourselves at early teenagehood or whatever? Did you have these thoughts about the world, the stuff that you were saying to us at the start of the garden walk around seasons have disappeared or are disappearing, we have to think about our food resilience, and was that stuff that was apparent to you from early on? Were you kind of ahead of your game with your peers, or?
Well, I guess we were we not? I mean, instantly when we came here, we're like, we need to get a kitchen going, we need to get...
No, but when you were in your teens...
In my teens, I had an allotment, and I had an allotment.
You were?
Yeah, I was.
So you were already thinking this sort of way around food security and sovereignty and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I didn't know if security was much of a thought back then, but I definitely felt a yearn to grow my own because didn't have a job. I was saying earlier that when I left college, it was literally, you need to study when you leave school, get a job straight in. Well, I didn't get a job. I studied for 3 years, didn't get a job. And then obviously I got into volunteering in horticulture-driven gardens where I met Gary Long, my mentor. And that's how I went down this road. But I did have an allotment for years before that.
So in a way, it was more a kind of therapeutic
Therapy,
like
yeah,
self-therapy, having an occupation at a time
Yeah.
when you didn't have an official occupation.
Yeah, exactly. And I was always aware of wildlife. Like, I've always been into wildlife. I remember sitting in a classroom and thinking, I just want to be outside.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to be outside.
Gazing out the window.
Yeah, gazing out the window. I wasn't into all this book studying. Like, I'd read knowledge books and all that, but I just didn't want to be inside.
Yeah, interesting.
And I think it's so natural, isn't it, for children?
I think
have a
so,
son
yeah.
who's nearly 7. He is 7, just
Yeah.
turned 7. And he's like that. You can just see, like, the natural instinct is to be continually moving and exploring. And our school system is set up to force us to sit and stay and be small
Yeah.
and not question and all these things. And
Yeah.
I think there's such a move. You can see that yearning all around the world with different, like, hedge schools and forest schools and different things popping up of, like, that's the instinct for children,
Yeah.
to continue to move and to explore their environment. That's how the
That's how the brain works.
And also
exactly.
not to stop doing it when you become an adult.
No,
No.
exactly.
To not suddenly shut it down when you turn 18
No.
and like turn serious and go
Yeah.
up. You're like, what's
Be in a
that?
suit all the time. Like,
Yeah.
it's not the way
It's
to be.
so interesting. People come to this space and they say, this would be great for kids.
Yeah.
Kids would love this. And I'm like, give yourself permission.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do it.
absolutely.
Like, they'll
It's okay if you want to run around.
see this, like we're about to put in this glider swing, and they're like, oh, the kids, all the kids that come and stay, they're going to go mad on that. I'm like, well, I hope you will too.
Yeah.
You know, because it's through play that we learn, and you know, my goodness, do we need to keep learning now more than ever.
Yeah.
And to be free in the thoughts that we have, and not to like go, well, this is the way it's been done forever, or this is the way I've been told it should be
Yeah, yeah.
done. But to, like, anything that you're doing, like swinging or climbing or changing your perspective in some kind of way, allows for that freedom of, like,
Yeah.
expansiveness and going, oh, actually I could see this from a different way, or like, how can I be more curious about that thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nature does that more than natural spaces that aren't designed to be one thing and one thing only, a bench to be sat on, or a, you know, when it's a log it can be, you know, a Viking ship, or
Or
it
the
can
imagination.
be, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the top to throw a
Absolutely.
sheet over and make a den,
Yeah.
you know.
And it always feels bigger when you're a kid as well, like these little dens you make.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
just
yeah.
feel like mansions.
Yeah.
When you get older, you're like,
There's just
"Oh,
6
it's quite
chairs
small."
in a mug. Yeah.
It's just 6 chairs in a row, a few branches. But yeah, it was amazing. I loved all of that.
And so
Still do.
how did you get to this? So where we are now, where you have the glamping and you have the edible gardens and the tours and the food, like, how did it distill down into becoming this, and why? Why
Been
this?
quite quick, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like 4 years and there's a lot
Yeah,
done.
within 4 years. Yeah.
I think Adam kind of alluded to it, like with the horticulture. I mean, he came to that as through a kind of therapeutic need, a need
Yeah,
for
and
purpose.
nature. I mean, I did come with climate change was something I was always becoming more aware of. Through horticulture and being outside, things were changing. I just
But
noticed it.
like, I always knew when we were thinking about a business and how to create, that we wanted different ways in for people. So whether it's they need some therapy, they just need some time out to be, we have the accommodation, and through that they might never have thought about gardens and horticulture, but they go, actually I'd quite like to join you for a tour, or it might even just be at breakfast we have a small conversation. And you know, so many of our guests and our visitors then become design clients of ours, and we then go on to build and create gardens for them. So it's both from an experiential point of view for people meeting us and coming to our business, but also from a business point of view it makes a lot of sense, because everything, so like what you guys are doing, it feeds each other. The information feeds the then need for a product or a food to then support that. So, and it makes you so much more resilient. You know, in COVID, we weren't able to open the accommodations. The escape stopped. We were then able to pivot, or not even pivot because it was already established, is take on more design clients and start doing virtual design. And so we're really busy at a time when if we hadn't had that, we'd have just been stuck. Our business would have been completely shut down.
Smart. And everyone was stuck in their own space at home, looking
Absolutely,
at their garden,
yeah.
going,
It was kind
I
of
want to
a
do something
boom.
with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a boom time for us, really, on that front, which was lovely to hear.
I think for small businesses, it's so vital. Any business, in fact, of any size, is to be resilient, and you need that diversity. That's what enables that resilience, being able to. And the Irish are very good at it. You know, classically wear a few different hats, but it makes a lot of sense. And also, even for ourselves as people, you know, to not be in that one box, but to actually keep challenging yourself by forcing you to, you know, step into different roles and
It's so interesting to hear you speak, because it's like, and we say this all the time, but you're speaking about people, but you're speaking about nature in the same way that you're speaking about nature when you're guiding us on the tour. It's like, in order to be resilient, you need diversity.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need within the gardens that we're growing. It's also what we need within our gut. It's also what we need within our communities. And we also need, like when I've heard you talk about like planting things beside each other, that, you know, what was the thing that you read me last night?
The Three Sisters.
Three Sisters,
Oh my
yeah.
God, we're reading Robin Wall Kimmerer's Braiding Sweetgrass.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that, no. But
Oh
so
my dude, you're
beautiful.
gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Oh my God, it's so good. She's like a keeper of the wisdom for one of the Ojibwe people, I think it is. And she's also a microbiologist. And she's just this really interesting. And just each one of the chapters is like this, like metaphor for life. And she's like, one of them where she's like digging a pond, she's talking about like letting her children go to college and being a good mother to the pond, and thinking like just all these kind of meditative, reflective things. But the Three Sisters thing, sorry, go on.
So well, you can tell it better than me, but you were reading to me last night about the Three Sisters and how the idea that traditionally these three plants were planted alongside each other because they all grew at different speeds and they had different qualities, and some had ground cover so they kept the water in, and some provided the corn provided the structure that allowed the bean to grow up it, and the foreigners came in and they were like, well, what's this? They don't know what they're doing. They're not monocropping. They're just like putting these random things all in together, and it's all ruined. But actually there's this really important thing that they each lended their qualities to each other, and I think that's like what people like you guys are doing, and what we want to do is like to mix all those skill sets in the people that we're drawing together, and notice like when you put me and you together, what are the ideas that we can bounce off each other, and how can we enhance each other's skill sets, and then the same, and you can cross-pollinate in that way, in this beautiful diversity that rises up, rather than going, well, you stay over there and I'll stay over here, and we'll all just be separate.
The monocultures and it's a bit of a recipe for disaster.
It's a really funny thing that humans have made that recipe for disaster ourselves.
Only in the last few hundred years, would it be? Like farming laws?
Well,
kind of colonialism and that mindset seems to be it's been destructive to every aspect of human kind of culture and nature.
it goes way back. I mean, we're very tribal. We are really, really quite tribal. But I think the fossil fuels have enabled a scale of this thinking and speed that is just colossal. You know,
like too fast for us, essentially. Like
up until then, we were limited by our hands. You know, these thoughts and this tribalism, you know, could only go so far. But you know, by digging up oil, it's enabled us to just speed up everything, and you know, the energy behind that is just. And there's so many interesting. Do you know, I'm absolutely terrible at. It's probably why I'm also not good in academia, remembering specific stats.
That's me. Jane can remember them all, and I'm like, the thing about the thing that I read about.
Such a sudden you'd be corrected. Like,
about the amount of man hours per drop of oil. I mean, it's amazing. Like it just is spectacular. And I've forgotten it.
What you need a lot of men.
For every drop of oil, the amount of hours that you would have to, or women would have to work for the equivalent. I think, you know, it's relatively recently, of course, that's all come about. And
the only thing for me that makes me not the only thing, but one of the things that gives me hope is that we still have things that exist on the earth that are man-made, that we couldn't have done, that we can't do now, that we can't understand the technology for. So we definitely know there's the ability for human ingenuity to not have fossil fuel, to still do amazing structural, you know, organizational things. who knows how we're going to find it? We haven't found it yet, but there's obviously something
We're
there.
always planning and thinking, aren't we?
Yeah, and whatever it is going to come when it's needed.
Yeah.
I guess. And I mean, this is part of it, isn't it? That's what's
We
beautiful
hope
about
so.
this. Like, well, it definitely is.
Yeah.
I mean, what gives me hope is that we are really good at stepping up to a crisis. I mean, we've seen it, you know, with the pandemic. Like, a vaccine has been developed and is out and available for anybody that wants it. You know, in a timeline that before COVID came along was seen as unthinkable. You know, when there's a specific problem that has to be addressed, we can, you know, right back to when there was another tribe coming over the hill in attack mode, people would pick up their swords and needs must would go into battle or would trade or whatever. But we're really, really good at dealing with crises. So as this becomes, I think, more and more real as a crisis, because it's been the big problem with climate change is that it's so intangible. But I mean, we're also very good at forgetting, but there's so many floods and so many wildfires, and you know, and even in Little Ireland, the droughts, you know, the month of rain, lack of rain that we had, and then these unbelievable deluges that we get. It is so real.
It's new.
And it's
new to us,
and it's that crisis becoming real that I think it gives me massive hope. People will pick up their metaphorical swords and will, you know, I think more and more quickly make the changes that are needed to deal with this.
Yeah. Nice. Guys, pretty nice talking to you.